Hey there, fellow explorers of the strange and unusual. Welcome back to our channel. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. Today, we're about to delve into the chilling world of abandoned prisons, where the weight of history hangs heavy and the echoes of suffering still linger. Buckle up, because these places are not for the faint of heart. We're talking about cold, damp cells, the lingering scent of fear, and maybe, just maybe, the restless spirits of those who never left. Our journey begins at Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia, a place where even the sunlight seems afraid to tread. This former fortress of confinement once held some of America's most notorious criminals, including the slickster himself, Al Capone. They say Capone could handle the feds, but even he was unnerved by the whispers that clung to Eastern State's walls. You see, Eastern State was designed to inspire penitence in its inmates, a place of solitary reflection and regret. But instead of rehabilitation, the prison seemed to amplify the darkness within its walls. Guards reported hearing disembodied footsteps echoing down the cell blocks, and inmates claimed to see shadowy figures lurking in their peripheral vision. Today, the prison stands empty, a decaying monument to good intentions gone awry. But some say the torment inflicted and endured within those walls lingers still, trapped within the very stones of the building. Visitors and staff alike have reported feeling a cold, unseen presence brush past them, and whispers seem to emanate from the walls, as if the prison itself is trying to tell its story. Next, we find ourselves down under, in the heart of Melbourne, Australia. Old Melbourne Gaol, a name that sends shivers down the spines of even the most hardened skeptics. This place has seen it all: hangings, murders, and enough human misery to make your head spin. They didn't mess around back then, folks. One of the most infamous souls to meet their end within these walls was none other than Ned Kelly, the legendary Australian outlaw. Kelly's last stand against the police is the stuff of legend, but it was here in Old Melbourne Gaol where his story came to a grim end. They say his ghost, along with those of the 132 others executed within the prison, still roams the cell blocks, seeking, what? Justice? Revenge? A decent cup of tea? We may never know. Visitors to the jail have reported all sorts of strange occurrences: unexplained temperature drops, disembodied voices whispering their names, and even the feeling of being touched or grabbed by unseen hands. It's enough to make you want to sleep with the lights on, even if you don't believe in ghosts. Now we're heading to a place synonymous with isolation and despair: Alcatraz Island, the infamous prison that needs no introduction. Surrounded by the frigid waters of San Francisco Bay, Alcatraz was the ultimate symbol of American justice, or at least the kind of justice reserved for the most hardened criminals. Al Capone did time here, as did George Machine Gun Kelly and the Birdman Robert Stroud. These guys were the real deal, the kind of criminals who kept J. Edgar Hoover up at night. But even the toughest cons couldn't escape the sense of dread that permeated Alcatraz. The constant cold, the isolation, and the ever-present knowledge that escape was virtually impossible chipped away at the sanity of even the most hardened criminals. Today, Alcatraz stands silent, a decaying monument to a bygone era of American justice. But some say the island is far from empty. Visitors and park rangers alike have reported hearing disembodied voices, cell doors slamming shut on their own, and even the ghostly strains of music echoing through the cell blocks. Is it the restless spirits of the inmates, forever bound to the island, that held them captive? Or is it just the wind whistling through the bars, playing tricks on our minds? Our next stop takes us across the pond to Dublin, Ireland, and Kilmainham Gaol, a place that has witnessed some of the most turbulent periods in Irish history. This wasn't just a prison, it was a symbol of oppression, a place where those who dared to fight for Irish independence were silenced. The weight of history here is palpable, folks. You can practically feel the despair seeping from the walls. Many Irish revolutionaries, including leaders of the 1916 Easter Rising, spent their final days within these walls. Their executions, carried out in the stone-cold yards of Kilmainham, fueled the fires of the Irish independence movement. The energy here is heavy, charged with the sorrow of countless lost lives and the unyielding spirit of rebellion. Today, Kilmainham Gaol stands as a chilling reminder of Ireland's struggle for freedom. Visitors often report feeling a profound sense of sadness and loss within its walls, as if the very stones themselves are weeping. There are whispers of ghostly figures pacing the cell blocks, their chains clinking in the darkness, and disembodied voices whispering tales of rebellion and sacrifice. From the Emerald Isle, we journey to the shores of Lake Geneva in Switzerland, where the imposing Château de Chillon stands as a testament to a darker time. This medieval fortress, with its imposing ramparts and forbidding dungeons, has witnessed centuries of history, some of it quite gruesome. We're talking about a time when imprisonment was often a death sentence, and Château de Chillon has the stories to prove it. Deep within the bowels of the castle lies the dungeon, a cold, damp abyss that once held prisoners of war, religious dissidents, and anyone else who ran afoul of the powers that be. One of the most famous prisoners to languish within these walls was François Bonnivard, a Genevan politician and scholar who became a symbol of resistance against oppression. Imagine being chained to a pillar in near darkness, the only sound the lapping of the lake against the castle walls. It's enough to drive anyone mad. Visitors to the Château de Chillon often report feeling a sense of unease within the dungeons, as if the suffering endured within those stone walls has left an indelible mark. There are tales of ghostly footsteps echoing through the corridors, of phantom chains rattling in the darkness, and of a chilling presence that seems to watch visitors from the shadows. Our next destination takes us to the outskirts of Madrid, Spain, to the colossal ruin that was once Carabanchel prison. This sprawling complex, once the largest prison in Europe, became a symbol of oppression under Franco's dictatorship. We're talking about a place where political prisoners, dissidents, and anyone deemed an enemy of the state were incarcerated, often without trial or hope of release. The stories that could be told within these crumbling walls, if only they could speak. For decades, Carabanchel prison was a place of unspeakable cruelty and suffering. Inmates were subjected to torture, starvation, and inhumane living conditions. The air within these walls was thick with despair, a tangible reminder of the regime's brutality. Even though the prison has been abandoned since 1998, the echoes of its dark past still linger. Locals tell tales of eerie lights emanating from the decaying buildings, of disembodied screams echoing through the night, and of a palpable sense of dread that hangs heavy over the entire area. It's as if the prison itself refuses to let go of the suffering it inflicted, a chilling reminder of the human capacity for cruelty. We journey now to Belfast, Northern Ireland, a city scarred by decades of conflict, and to Crumlin Road Jail, a place that has borne witness to both the best and worst of humanity. This imposing Victorian-era prison, once a symbol of British authority, held everyone from petty criminals to paramilitary leaders. The walls of Crumlin Road Jail have seen it all: riots, escapes, and executions, each leaving their own indelible mark on the fabric of the building. One can only imagine the tension that permeated these walls, the constant threat of violence hanging in the air. Prisoners, both Catholic and Protestant, were segregated, their animosity fueled by the conflict raging outside the prison walls. Crumlin Road Jail became a microcosm of the Troubles, a pressure cooker of fear, anger, and despair. Today the prison stands silent, a museum to a turbulent past. But scratch the surface and the darkness bleeds through. Visitors and staff alike have reported experiencing unexplained phenomena within the prison walls. Sudden drops in temperature, disembodied voices whispering in the darkness, and the overwhelming feeling of being watched. Our next stop takes us to the heart of England, to the imposing edifice of Shrewsbury Prison, also known as the Dana. This place has stood for over 2 centuries, a silent sentinel witnessing the changing face of justice and punishment. Within its walls, countless souls lived out their sentences, some finding redemption, others succumbing to the darkness that clung to the prison like a shroud. Shrewsbury was no cakewalk, folks. We're talking about a time when hard labor, solitary confinement, and corporal punishment were the norm. The air within these walls was thick with the weight of despair and regret, a tangible reminder of the price of transgression. Even after its closure in 2013, the Dana couldn't shake its grim reputation. Paranormal investigators and curious visitors alike have reported experiencing a range of unsettling phenomena within its walls: shadowy figures lurking in the cell blocks, disembodied voices whispering from empty rooms, and an overwhelming sense of dread that seeps into your bones. It's as if the prison itself is haunted by the memories of those who lived and died within its walls, their stories forever etched into the very fabric of the building. Our journey takes us now to the windswept shores of Estonia, to the imposing hulk of Patarei prison, a place that sends chills down the spines of even the most hardened historians. Built in the 19th century as a sea fortress, Patarei took on a much darker role during the Soviet occupation of Estonia. This place wasn't about rehabilitation or justice, it was about breaking the human spirit, about silencing dissent and instilling fear. Within Patarei's damp and decaying walls, prisoners endured unimaginable suffering. Torture, starvation, and psychological torment were commonplace. The Soviets were masters of repression, and Patarei became a chilling symbol of their brutal regime. Even though the Iron Curtain has long since fallen, the horrors of Patarei prison continue to haunt the Estonian psyche. Visitors often describe feeling a sense of overwhelming sadness and oppression within the prison walls, as if the very air is thick with the suffering of those who were imprisoned there. There are tales of ghostly apparitions appearing in the cell blocks, of disembodied screams echoing through the corridors, and of an unshakable feeling that you're not alone, even when you know you should be. Our final destination takes us to the rugged coast of Cornwall, England, to Bodmin Gaol, a place steeped in history, both fascinating and macabre. For over 150 years, Bodmin served as a stern reminder of the consequences of transgression, housing everyone from petty thieves to hardened criminals. Within its walls, countless souls lived out their sentences, some finding redemption, others succumbing to the despair that clung to the prison like a stubborn fog. Bodmin wasn't just about punishment, it was also a place of public spectacle. Executions were held on the grounds, drawing crowds eager to witness the ultimate penalty for breaking society's rules. Imagine the atmosphere, folks. The morbid curiosity mixed with fear, and a strange sense of communal justice. It's enough to make your skin crawl. Today, Bodmin Gaol stands as a chilling reminder of Cornwall's darker side. Visitors and staff alike have reported experiencing a range of unexplained phenomena within its walls. Shadowy figures darting through the corridors, disembodied voices whispering from empty cells, and a palpable sense of unease that lingers long after you've left the prison walls. And there you have it, folks. 10 abandoned prisons that serve as chilling reminders of the darker side of human nature. These places are more than just historical sites. They are repositories of pain, suffering, and the enduring power of the human spirit. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, there's no denying the palpable sense of unease that permeates these abandoned prisons. These places are haunted by the memories of those who lived and died within their walls, their stories etched into the very fabric of the buildings. So, the next time you find yourself exploring an old, abandoned building, remember that you might not be alone. The past has a way of lingering, and sometimes it whispers back.